Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So today I'm going to try to do a 2-for-1 video, something that I'm working on getting into the habit of doing, where I give you some kind of homesteading, prepping, herbalist, gardening, survival tip, and then follow up with just, the latest news of what's going on in the world around us and why we should be aware of it, because it helps us become more prepared. I planned on doing this video in the garden actually, but it's super windy out in the open and it just messed with the microphone, but that's okay. We can talk about it here. I want to talk about starting off with is seeds and seed saving. That's something that we're kind of focused on right now here in our local area, is setting up a seed bank and encouraging people to save their seeds and contribute some of those to the seed bank so that we can, all kind of share in that. Seed saving seems to be one of those things that a lot of new people to gardening feel a little overwhelmed. They're unsure of exactly how to do it. If I'm harvesting at the right time, am I doing it in the right way to ensure a good quality seed for the next year? There is some skill involved, and a lot of that is just learned over time. But honestly, it's not difficult. You just need to get in and do it. The first thing that you should remember when harvesting seeds for the next year, or just to put away for the future, is to try to only harvest from the best plants. You don't want to find a plant that's kind of sickly, or that's the smallest of plants, one that the insects have just, pulverized, or that maybe it's gotten some kind of mold or whatever on it. You want to look for the best plants that you have to harvest from. That hopefully ensures that plant's a little stronger, has the best genes, and will hopefully reproduce the best quality offspring from those seeds. Then, depending on what it is really when you should harvest. If it's a plant that has a fruiting vegetable, meaning that the seeds are inside of the vegetable or the part that you're harvesting, try to let it ripen as long as possible on the vine. You don't want to get to the point that it's rotting on the vine, but certain things, say like a tomato, as soon as they start to kind of ripen just a little bit, you can pull that off the vine and let it finish ripening in the house. It's best to let it fully ripen on the vine as much as possible. So that's going to go with, your cucumbers, your squashes, eggplants, tomatoes, things like that. And then it's pretty simple with other plants too. So, your brassicas, your greens, stuff like that. What you want to do is let it go to seed. For instance, if you're wanting to harvest seeds for lettuce, you typically, when you're harvesting to eat the lettuce, you're picking it down so that you're preventing it from growing that seed stalk that grows up. Because once it does that, the lettuce pretty much is done for, right? Well, when you're wanting to harvest the seeds, that's what you want, is that seed stalk. So as you're harvesting your lettuce throughout the year or throughout the season, when you notice that maybe some of them are doing really well, there's a certain area, there's certain plants that are doing really well, at some point, kind of let them go. And then they will start to form that seed stalk, which we call going to seed. This is true with a lot of other plants that produce a seed stalk of some sort. It produces a flower, and then those flowers eventually become seeds. You want to let them go through that whole process to where the seeds start to create little pods, or you can feel there's some dryness, crunchiness to them. Now you're going to have to be careful, because once that starts to happen, the birds like to get in there and clean it out. But when that happens, you can cut that, and depending on what it is, you can shake it or pull it off or whatever and collect the seeds. Now, once you've collected seeds of your plants, you need to dry them. Some of them are easy to do. For instance, like I just said, where it produces a seed stalk, the seeds probably are mostly dry right when you harvest them, but it doesn't hurt to continue a little bit of a drying process. Some of them, it's a little different. With the seeds inside the vegetable, they come out, they're wet, they may have a membrane on them. You need to kind of clean that off, wash it a little bit off. Not really wash it, but dilute it with water to get the separate, so that you can separate the seed from the pulp or the membrane. And then you're going to take that seed and you're going to dry it. A dehydrator works. putting them in an oven on a very lowest possible setting so that they can dry, or just air drying them on a napkin or screen in your home or outside works. Now, it only really works outside or in your home if the humidity level is low enough. So you need a humidity level kind of below 60 usually to get a good drying process. And then once they're dry, all you got to do pretty much is put them away. And you want to store them properly. They need to be, the main thing is heat, light, and moisture. So you want to do your best to keep them out of that. Heat's probably one of the biggest killers for seeds. So store them in a way that they're, in an envelope, in a Ziploc bag, something that they're, a jar, vacuum sealed. There's many different ways that you can store seed and then put it somewhere where there's no direct light on it and there's not a lot of heat, that it's fairly cool temperatures, moderately cool temperatures. Your house is, a good temperature range to store your seeds. If you do this, you can continue having seeds throughout the generations. I mean, seeds have been discovered that are thousands of years old, and they still germinate and still produce a plant. In fact, there have been some plants that have been extinct, and they have found ancient seeds in clay pots, and they plant them, and guess what? Now the plant's no longer extinct. It's not difficult. Don't be scared off from it. And then what you can do, it's kind of fun, it's kind of like trading baseball cards or something when you're a kid. You collect your seeds, write down the variety, information like the date that it was harvested, the year, all that kind of stuff. And then you can swap them out with your neighbors and your friends, do some seed swapping. That way you can have different varieties and not have to pay the price to get seeds from a store, because at some point it may become more and more difficult. It's already becoming difficult. These last 2 seasons, for a lot of people, it's become difficult to get the seeds that they want because of shortages and all other kinds of reasons. So, save your seeds, folks. It's not that hard. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was actually a conversation we had with some friends yesterday, as, guess what? We were working on the seeds, separating them up for people at for our little seed bank here in our community. And I was talking to them about kind of my idea of sort of what's going on. And I think there's a lot to it. The Great Reset from the World Economic Forum, they're very open about what they say is going on. I mean, they're not trying to be quiet. It's not a big secret. It's not some closed off secret society that you have to sneak into to find information. They put out information almost daily. They have a YouTube channel with hundreds and hundreds of videos. They're posting articles and blogs and all kinds of stuff all the time. So it's not difficult to just find this information. And so many people out there are like, well, that's conspiracy theory stuff. No, it's not. It's right out there. Then you've got the people that are supporting the Great Reset, like the Prime Minister of Canada and Australia and, Prince Charles, and heads of corporations like Microsoft and IBM and, all these companies, these CEOs, they're out talking, they're giving little talks for World Economic Forum events, kind of like a TED Talk, but it's for the World Economic Forum. And they're very open about their agenda. I think when I've talked about yesterday and in other videos that there's more to this than just, it's a bad health crisis that we all have to protect ourselves from this disease. There's a lot more going on here. There's a lot more that's been planned, and I believe this has been planned out for a long time. They kind of talk about that. I mean, again, this is not a big secret, folks. If you don't believe me, just do the research. Get on their YouTube page and watch some of their videos. Get on their website and read the stuff that they're putting out. And you might say, well, they don't control the world. Well, they kind of do. The World Economic Forum is made up approximately of about 2,500 of the most wealthiest and powerful people, individuals, entities, businesses on the planet. All the who's who, that upper 1% of the population, that's the World Economic Forum. They're all members of the World Economic Forum. They're kind of like the public face of all these little secret societies that we've talked about for years that meet in secret and talk about how they're going to change things in the world. Well, the World Economic Forum is kind of like the public open front for that. And so we're able to see what their agenda is. So one of their agendas, I believe, and I believe this may be the big one, is to radically change the world. That's what the Great Reset is about, right? They talk about this fourth industrial revolution. They talk about the introduction and the development of all this really advanced technology. And one of the big ones that they talk about a lot is artificial intelligence and robotics. And they're trying to sell it like a snake oil salesman. It's going to be great. You know, these robots, these AI robots, they're going to be doing all this work for us. I mean, here's an article right here from the World Economic Forum, or talking about the World Economic Forum, of how they, that's what they want. They want all these robots to do all these jobs, all this AI to do all this work. And we need that because we can't get skilled workers. I mean, we're hearing this more and more. There's no skilled workers anymore. No one wants to work anymore. They want to just sit at home. They want to, draw an income. They're okay even making less money because they're not having to work. And so we need this. We need workers. We need skilled workers. Well, guess what? We have robots and AI. We're seeing that in various industries. Look at the trucking industry. What have we been hearing about for months, even years now? That there's a trucker shortage, that there's less truckers getting into the trucking industry than there are that are retiring and phasing out. And so we're seeing shortages all over the world because there's no truck drivers to move the equipment. Well, guess what they've been developing for years? You all know it. Driverless trucks. That's right. And while it's not perfected, it will eventually get to the point that these, AI-operated trucks will be the thing. And we don't need truckers anymore, right? I mean, we don't need to when you go to a restaurant, you don't need someone to take your order. You can have a little screen and there's your order. There are restaurants that's been testing that the entire restaurant has no humans there. It's all done by, computers and robots. This is the future, folks. And it's okay. It's okay that tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions of people on the planet are not going to have to work anymore because of all this advanced technology. Because guess what? We're going to give everyone universal basic income. We have seen the kind of beta testing of this over the last year and a half with stimulus checks and unemployment, more unemployment than normal because of people being laid off and all this kind of stuff, freebie stuff, right? Free money, free money, free money. The Federal Reserve and U.S. Treasury Department has talked about just sending out everyone a debit card. Everyone gets a debit card. Everyone gets an account, right? Everyone gets some type of banking account that they're just, whether you want it or not, you don't have to sign up for it. You don't have to request it. You just get it, and then they just start putting money in your account on a monthly basis. And because, we understand that you can't work because of shutdowns. You can't work because of, we got to take precautions because of this disease. And so to make it just easier on everyone, we're going to do that. And then you can get it on your phone. And who knows, maybe in your hand or on your forehead, where you don't even need a device to purchase things. You can just, in fact, I read an article months ago that I believe it was 7-Eleven convenience stores were testing this out to where there was no person inside the store. You just walked in, and the microchip that's on you, maybe in your hand or whatever, scans as you walk in, and you grab what you want off the shelves, and then you just walk out the door. And as you walk out the door, the computers scan all the items that you're taking out with you, and then it just deducts it from your account automatically because it scans your account because it's embedded in your body somewhere. And hey, that's great, right? Well, here's the thing, folks. Do you really think that eventually these world elites, heads of banks, CEOs of corporations, all the elite, the wealthy, that they're going to be okay with tens of millions or hundreds of millions or maybe even billions globally just sitting at home playing video games and making stupid TikTok videos and drawing this universal basic income and not really contributing at all to society? I mean, they've already talked extensively for years that humans and the things that humans consume are a drain on the environment, right? We produce too much carbon emission and all the foods that we eat and the things that we do. We destroy the environment. And well, one way to reduce that destruction is just to reduce the amount of people on the planet. And they're going to sit here and they're going to say, but we have all these millions and millions of people that they don't do anything. They're worthless, right? They're just consumers. They're mouth breathers because they sit at home and they get their UBI because they can't work, because there are no jobs, because, well, the robots are now doing everything. I know this seems so far-fetched. I get it. Some of you may be sitting there laughing. And I'm saying it kind of in a tongue-in-cheek way. But I'm telling you, if you look at the information that they're putting out, it's not really that far out there. And then they decide, well, there's just too many people. Just too many people. And we're tired of paying them to do nothing. We need to get rid of them. Well, we have to have a way to do that. Well, guess what? We've already come up with a way to do that. That's right. We have developed the technology that we can put in someone's body, and, if we want to, we can get rid of them. And then we've also, kind of set the stage with a good excuse, because we have all this climate change, and it's going to destroy things, and it's going to kill people, and it's going to cause famines, and it's going to make the planet uninhabitable because there's too many people polluting the planet. I mean, just this week, the United Nations released their Code Red for Humanity report. And it's all over the news, it's all over the internet, talking about how we've just about crossed the point of no return. That, basically we're just all going to die. We've destroyed the planet. We're all going to die. And because there's too many of us and we're producing too much pollution. And the only way to possibly make a change is if there's a massive, drastic reduction of the amount of pollution and emissions and stuff that we're producing. In fact, so much of a reduction that all the things like the Paris Climate Accord agreement and stuff isn't enough. Not enough to make a change. That the oceans will continue warming, that the surface of the earth will continue warming, plants will continue dying, animals will continue dying, farming's going to be almost impossible to do in the near future. And they're talking about the near future because it's the new crisis, it's the new pandemic, right? This, it's destroying the planet and we're all going to die. And then guess what? When people start dying because of a reason that, no one really knows, well, it's because of what we told you. Are you kind of starting to put the pieces together? I'm not saying that what I'm telling you is exactly precisely what's going to happen or is exactly correct, but I think it's pretty close. And I think it's pretty close because, well, that's what they've been saying for years, and especially the last 18 months or so. This isn't a big secret. And we're already seeing them do this in certain places. Look at this latest update on the beta test that's going on in Australia. And I'll play this little clip for you.
We all need to work together. We need to limit our movements. We need to consider whenever we leave our house that anyone with us, anyone we come into contact with could convey the virus. So whilst it is in human nature to engage in conversation with others, to be friendly, unfortunately, this is not the time to do that. So even if you run into your next door neighbour in the shopping centre, in the Coles, whilst you're at Coles or Woolworths or Aldi or any other grocery shop, don't start up a conversation. Now is the time for minimising your interactions with others. Even if you've got a mask, do not think that affords total protection. We want to be absolutely sure that as we go about our daily lives, we do not come into contact with anyone else that would pose a risk.
Did you hear all that? Don't associate with people. Don't talk to your neighbors. Isolate yourself. Just isolate yourself from all humans. Keep yourself locked up in your home. If you must leave, just get what you need to do and then get home. Don't look at, don't speak to, don't have any kind of conversation, and certainly don't come into any kind of physical contact with anyone else. Just lock yourself in your home and you'll be okay because we're here to take care of you. This is something that we're seeing all over. It seems like Australia, I think, is the beta test because it seems to be happening worse there than anywhere else. But we are slowly seeing other parts of the world start to pick up on what's going on in Australia and implementing certain parts of that in those regions over in Europe and even in New York and certain other parts of this country. We're starting to see little bits of that. We want to isolate us from other humans. We want to sever that connection that we have with other humans, and then create a problem that the solution is too many humans, too much stuff. You know, we got to reduce the amount of cattle because there's too many cows causing all this, you know, carbon emission. Well, one way to reduce the amount of cows is to reduce the need for them, reduce the amount of people that eat those cows. Again, I may not be completely correct, but I think I'm on to something. And in my mind, about the only way to avoid this is to not be part of that system, to choose to live a life of independence on your own, away from all that, secede from that, break away from that culture, break away from that society as much as possible. I'm not advocating living some primitive life in a cave, folks. I'm just saying, don't be part of that and have your own independence. Be self-sufficient in your own way, prepared to live on your own and to survive, because my opinion is the being part of that system will have much worse, longer repercussions than the struggle that you and I might go through in the immediate just to not be part of it. I think things are lining up, like I've said before, for a perfect storm. Let me know what you think and how crazy you think I am. But again, if you get online and you read the words that they say and you listen to the stuff that they talk about, it's really not that far off. Thank you all for watching. Catch you in the next video.